Are you ready to eat?
Aye, aye, Captain!
I can't hear you!
Aye, aye, Captain!
Oh, what comes from a river and lives in the sea? Steelhead salmon! You grill it or poach it and make it tasty. Atlantic salmon! Filleted or steaks and a versatile fish. Coho salmon! We'll make it today, it's a healthy light dish. Sockeye salmon! Ready? Tasty salmon! Yummy salmon! Deluxe salmon! Chinook salmon! Cut.
Salmon, probably the most popular fish out there. Everywhere you go, you see salmon, all kinds of different salmon. You got Atlantic salmon, Chinook salmon, steelhead, sockeye, farm raised and wild, or line caught, as they like to say. Let's go through the ingredients, because this is a dish that is absolutely perfect for illustrating, taking ingredients and not following a recipe. We've got some Caracara oranges, which are absolutely gorgeous and sweet and has some nice flavor and a little bit of tang. That's absolutely exactly what you want. And the blood orange, and I figured let's just combine the two. Then we're gonna use some fennel. This is that alien looking vegetable that you always see at the grocery store and you're like, what the hell is that? If you can find it with the fronds, you can use those fronds as garnish on top, and it just adds a nice little licorice flavor to it. Then we have a red onion, a couple of lemons. We have some Hass avocado. Make sure they're nice and ripe. We've got some fresh mint. We've got some Kalamata olives. We've got some fresh garlic, pine nuts that I've toasted, salt, pepper, and then we've got a bunch of liquids here, a little bit of honey, some sherry vinegar, virgin olive oil, and then we've got some chili oil. This is a musical instrument called a mandolin. The key to this salad is cutting it really thin. Whenever you're using fennel raw, you want to cut it as thinly as possible. We've got the bottom. I'm gonna cut that off. We're gonna cut it in half. If I see that the core is small, for doing this, I just sort of leave it in. And I know there's gonna be some of you that's like, no, you never do that. You always take it out. Well, if you want to take it out, take it out. It's okay. This is where you get in touch with your food, right? You kind of look at it and you go, I don't think I want to do that. Or I think I want to do that. So I'm going to just hold it like this. And you don't have to go down all the way. In fact, you shouldn't, because this thing's pretty sharp. You don't want to do any damage. Here we have, look at that. See how thin and light that is. Now, always put it in ice water for a bit before you use it. Reason being, ice water will crisp it up. Texture-wise, it doesn't do anything for flavor, but texture-wise, it gives you that nice crunch, and I love that. I'm gonna do this one, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Ovaltine's better for you. It has vitamins and minerals. Quick doesn't.
And it tastes great.
We're gonna deal with the onion next, but I'm just gonna use actually half of one, and you're like, well, the recipe says it's for 6 people. Yeah, you can use a half an onion for 6 people because we're gonna, again, cut it really thin. What happens is the ice water will help extract that harshness from the onion that you would get from a raw onion. So once you put it in the salad, you get that onion flavor, but you don't get that, ooh, God, onion, you know what I mean? So I'm just gonna cut these as thin as possible. And I'm just gonna put it in with the fennel. So now that that's ready, I'm gonna let the ice water do its thing. We're gonna deal with the oranges. But first, we need some of the zest. This is a microplane. I like to use it inverse. And when you're doing it, start at the top, roll the orange one way, and roll your hand in the opposite direction. And then what happens is, you get one nice, clean swipe. You leave all that pith. That's the part. Now you have it all like in a nice little tray, and just ta-da! So 1 orange will give you about a tablespoon. I'm gonna do 2 because I'm not quite sure how much salmon I wanna make. See, I'm not following the recipe. I know that it takes orange zest. I know I have salmon. So I'm not following the recipe. I'm just going with it. So now we've got the orange in there and the garlic. I'm gonna put 2 cloves. So knife off the board, flat against the garlic, and wham, and wham, little chop. Because in the vinaigrette, we don't want big chunks of garlic. Smash, 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 smash. As the garlic is going to sit a bit with the acid from the citrus, it's going to lessen that harshness of the garlic, but you're still gonna get a nice garlic flavor. And now we're gonna take that orange, and I gotta show you, look at the color. Isn't that gorgeous? Just hold your hand over the bowl in case any seeds come out. Squeeze, and I'm kind of looking at it and I'm thinking, I think I'm gonna use another half. You're like, well, what am I gonna do with the rest of it? You get to eat that, okay? And I'd say that's about 1/3 of a cup. And now we're gonna use some lemon, and I'm only gonna use 1 lemon because obviously it's not as sweet as an orange, but I do want that zest, and I do want the tang. And then, see, there we go again. Okay, so I'm gonna have to use, because I know this is gonna drive Alton Brown crazy, one of my favorite stupid kitchen instruments, which I think is really awesome. But isn't this cool? Watch, it's like a garlic press. Oh, I don't know, I get such a kick out of this. Now, we're gonna let that sit while we do the rest, and the garlic will tone down, and then we'll come back and we'll finish the dressing. Okay, now I wanna show you a blood orange. I know it looks like it's been rusted on the outside. That's the way it's supposed to look, so don't worry. You basically treat any orange the same way for what we're doing. You just cut off the top and you cut off the bottom, working your way around the outside. This is small orange, so don't use really long cuts, right? Just little tiny cuts. And I'm using a really stupid big knife, which is fine because I'm used to doing it. But if you want to use a paring knife, right, you can do that as well, right? We're going to just cut it into slices. And sometimes the whole orange is that color. Sometimes it's sort of spotty. Sometimes you get just a little bit of that color strewn throughout here and there. And then for a normal orange, do the same thing. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. It's not quite orange, it's not quite pink, it's sort of in the middle. And I'm cutting these just a little under 1/4 inch thick. Now, when you're doing any kind of a salad that uses citrus like this, they're gonna extrude juice, right? So if you wanna get it done ahead of time, and even if you don't, I do this all the time, just sort of a rule of thumb, paper towel, workhorse of the kitchen, along with parchment. Put your orange slices, segments, suprêmes, whatever, on the paper towel and let them drain on the paper towel. Okay, we're now gonna tackle the avocados. Quick way to make guacamole, by the way. Take your knife, no, I'm just kidding. When you're picking an avocado, you wanna make sure, if you want a ripe avocado, that it gives just a tad, just barely a tad, just barely soft. If it's too soft, it's obviously overripe. If it's hard, forget it. If it's right in that perfect spot, then there's a couple of ways to tackle it. A lot of people use the spoon technique. You kind of do this, and you go kaplunk. That's a nice way to do it, especially on a Haas because the skin is pretty thick and sturdy. If you're using an avocado like a fuerte, it's thin, and your spoon tends to go right through the skin. You can also, I call it the Japanese sushi restaurant method. They take a little knife, and when the avocado is perfectly ripe, it comes off pretty easy, see that? So now you see the difference, right? On the surface, this one is nice and sort of dry and smooth. This one is a little gnarled, but it's okay. So I've got 3 nice avocados. We got halves and halves going on here. You could cube it if you wanted, but I kind of like just nice 1/4 inch thick slices. Now we're gonna finish up the fennel and the onion. And I know you can't feel this, but if you could stick your hand in this really cold water, you would feel just how firmed up and crispy they've become. My wife gave this to me for a gift. It's very cool. You've seen these, right? Salad spinner, they call it. That you take out or remove as much of the water as possible. You don't want any water in this dish. Put on the brakes! I'm just gonna put it on the bottom. We're making a bed. And you want a nice, large platter for this dish if you're gonna be doing it family style, because you wanna show off all the colors and shapes and whatnot. You don't wanna crowd everything onto a small platter. We'll take the oranges and just sort of put them, you know, willy-nilly. That's actually part of the charm of this dish. You don't do it perfectly. And then we're using these, isn't that gorgeous? Now I've actually cut more of stuff, right, than what I need for the recipe. I got Niçoise olive, oh not sorry, Kalamata, that I've just taken and I've sliced, right? Just gonna put those here and there, strew them about thusly. A nice little touch is toasted pine nuts. If you want to use sliced or slivered almonds, you can do that too. If you want to use roasted hazelnuts, that's nice. But I think with the flavors going on here, the pine nuts are really nice. At this point, we can stick that in the fridge and you can get to your dressing and your salmon. So if you want to cover it, it'll stay in there for a couple hours. Now we have the dressing to finish up, which is pretty easy. We've had the garlic and the zest, salt and pepper, and the juices, right, the citrus juices sitting in here for quite a bit. So everything's sort of blended and mellowed together. Key. We're gonna add some olive oil, oranges, citrus, whatever. They kind of vary, right, in their sweetness and sourness and whatnot. So in order to adjust, you want to add, or I like to add, a little bit of vinegar if the acid level is not high enough, and just put a little bit. You're actually seasoning your vinaigrette with vinegar. And if the acid level was too high, then you'd add just a touch of honey. And now, this is so cool. Okay, this is so cool. This is the magic ingredient, xanthan gum. This normally is used in gluten-free baking. If you look on the back of a ton of dressing bottles out there, you will see xanthan gum. Why do they use it? Because a lot of the times their 1, 2, or 3rd ingredient is water. You're not gonna get emulsification with a ton of water, so they need that. You can get this now. So this stuff is so powerful, you don't need much at all. So just a little, look, you can barely see it going in. Just a little sprinkle. I mean, that's it. Whisk it in, leave it alone. And while you're grilling the salmon, it's gonna work its magic. It doesn't like to be watched. And then you'll notice, oh my God, it's like emulsified. Last thing left to do, I wanna show you how to tackle that salmon. Here are some already pre-portioned fillets. If it's cut this way, you know, the other way, like I'm facing you, I'm the fish, and it's cut this way, it's called a steak. If it's cut from one side of the salmon, it's called a fillet, or like they like to say in England, fillet. These, you'll see, I've left the skin on. This portion here, right, is the belly side. Everybody wants that because there's more fat. For this, I like something to look a little neater, and they'll do this a lot of times in restaurants. They'll trim the belly part off. Take your knife, and this has got to be really sharp because you're gonna have to go through the skin, and just in one movement, don't do this type of thing, okay? One movement, go all the way down until about here, see? Don't throw that away, because you know what I do sometimes? I'll make salmon tartare, either, you know, whatever, Japanese style or European style, whatever, and have that as I'm cooking. Now you have
a fillet that has the same thickness or diameter, right, all the way around. I'm gonna trim the top off. However your fingers are sized, you can use 2, which is too small, 3, which is good, or 4 if you want a bigger size. So I use 3, so just put 3 fingers down there. 1 slice, 2 slice, 3 slice, 4 slice. Now you have this. You're like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do with that now? These are thicker. This is thin. I don't know what the heck to do with that. Well, you can actually cut that up and use it with this. You can make something else with that. Or, this is cool too, watch. Paper towel. Here's the skin, right? I'm starting at the tail end. Really sharp knife again. I'm gonna cut just through the flesh, just a little bit, so that I make a little knob here to hold with the paper towel. And then you start a little seesaw action back and forth at an angle towards the board. I'm kind of pushing the knife forward and I'm moving the skin back and forth. I'm not using the blade. And there, the skin comes off. Now you have all of that. And then a lot of people go, what is that? That's flavor. I know it doesn't look the greatest, but that's flavor. That's like fat. So right in the center, right in the middle, make a small score. Don't go all the way through, just a little bit. And fold it over. Now, you have a piece as the others, right? You can't tell.
Okay, I got a stovetop grill that's been heating here over medium-high heat. Here we have our salmon, and what we're gonna do is, I know it's an oily fish, but we don't want it to stick either, right? So we're gonna oil the top, and if you want to use a brush, you can do this. Okay, now remember, the higher you go, right, the better it is, because you don't get little splotches of salt and pepper. So believe it or not, just a touch more oil on the grill, and I just use a spray because it's easier to get on there. And you will get this. Welcome to San Francisco. We're going to turn on the vent, otherwise you won't be able to see me. We're going to go flesh side down. Now, once you put the salmon on the grill, don't touch it. The tendency is to want to turn it right away, but that's when it will stick. You want it to form a crust before you flip it. Just stick it there and leave it. Don't touch it. No touch it, no touch it. Starting to turn opaque, and it's working its way up the side. When you see that, that's your cue to turn it over. Now I started here, so I'm gonna start here to flip, right? All of these are really beautiful. This one is not so much, but I'm hoping the second side will be okay. There are those who believe that everything has a, 2 minutes on this side and 1 minute on that side. But I don't like to tell people, cook for 3 minutes and you're good. Well, these people say, when I was teaching, when do we know when it's done? And I would say, when it's done. Well, how do I know when it's done? When it's done. What do I mean by that? Depending on what you're cooking, again, you're getting in touch with your food. You're becoming one with your food. You're having your food tell you what to do. You're not telling it what to do. You're going to use your fingers and you're going to touch it. Just like you would with like a steak, right? Now, I don't know, you probably can't see this that well on camera, but, hey! But when I put my finger there, it's a little squishy. That means it's raw or rare. If you hold your hand like this and push here, that would give you an idea of what I just felt, right? So that would be rare or raw, actually. And then if you extend your fingers out all the way and do this, it's pretty taut. right? There's no give. That would be pretty much overcooked. Just keep in mind, you can use either line caught or farm raised. Farm raised having more fat content, which gives you more leeway. But if you prefer the line caught wild salmon, just know you don't have anywhere near as much leeway. You got to get it right on the button and take it off when it's done. Otherwise it dries up. Some people like theirs medium rare. Some people like theirs actually raw in the middle. Some people, which I wouldn't do. Some people like theirs cook mine all the way through, which is fine. So whoever you're cooking for, cook for them, right? You might not like it, but that doesn't mean they don't. And now, we're gonna plate and eat. We got our salmon all ready to go. And now we're gonna finish it up. What's really nice and works so well with the oranges and the fennel and the onion and everything is fresh mint. And you can take the leaves and you can roll them up and you can do a little chiffonade if you want. But I think this one, it just looks really nice because we're doing a rustic dish and just got these big splotches of color to just kind of loosely tear it up. We've got that there. And the last thing to add, and you don't have to, but this is really nice, get a really good in brine, feta sold in brine, if you can, feta, and just sort of crumble it here and there. You can do a French feta, you can use a Greek feta, whatever your favorite feta is. And yes, believe it or not, we're going to season the salad. A lot of people might be saying, oh my God, you put salt and pepper on your salad? You have to put salt. You got a lot of water in here, in these things. You got a lot of water in the fennel, you got a lot of water in the onion, you got a lot of water in the orange. Now we're gonna take some chili oil, and you don't have to do this either, but I like just a little zing in the background. Now the salmon. One, and just lay it on top. And again, this recipe I'm doing for 6 for purposes of the show. You gotta watch this. You gotta, come on. No, closer, come on. No, come on, okay. Look what happens with that xanthan gum in there, right? You can say, well, it's still liquidy. Well, it's a vinaigrette, but it's not like water, right? It looks like there's a ton of oil in here and emulsified with maybe an egg yolk or mustard, but nothing, there's nothing in there. It's just the xanthan gum. Isn't that cool? Dun 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 dun. Put it on the fish. Now you can serve some of this on the side too, right? Which I would, because some people don't like a lot of dressing, but you definitely want to moisten the salmon with it. And then, I know, here we go again.
Oh my God, he's taking out the damn microgreens again.
What can I say? I like microgreens. Don't have to use it. Just a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there. Boom. And there we have a really, really nice spring or summertime salad. What I like to do is I like to try eat like each component by itself, and then I kind of blend them all together. But since I've had this before, I'm just going to blend it all together. And I'll... This is one of my absolute favorite dishes. I don't think I could ever get tired of this. We've got the nuts, we got the citrus, we got the crunchy fennel, the onion that's not too sharp, the nice salmon on there with that amazing vinaigrette that sticks to the fish because of the xanthan gum. It's just incredible. You need to try this recipe. Download it below. Subscribe, like. I don't know where the bell is. I think it's over here. If you could ring that bell, that would really be nice. Love it, love it, love it.
And
damn, that's good.